SANDCAST, beach volleyball with Bourne and Travis Mewhirter, brought to you as always by our buds at volleyballmag.com. And we have a very special one today. We have John Mayer by himself enjoying what is now a very extended off season. So how is life in post-retirement?
I don't feel very retired. Still working hard. It is different, not lifting like I usually would and playing every day, but just, I coach at Loyola Marymount, and the day-to-day stuff with that just keeps you busy. So it doesn't, it's not like I'm hanging out in Florida on a hammock doing nothing. So I'm staying busy. Just coaching our team, getting the team better. And I think it'll hit me more when like tournaments start coming up more often. The AVP season starts. Like, this is different. Yeah.
And I think your retirement announcement, or quote unquote announcement, was vintage Mayer, that like it just sort of leaked out to Mark Schuerman, and then he made an announcement. Yeah. Like, were you planning on it just letting it like trickle out?
I don't know. I didn't want to make a deal of it. I'd known this year. I was like, it's just been so hard to do LMU and try to play at a high level, and I felt like I was just kind of being average at both, and also my passion's gone to the coaching. Like I just love it, and you get consumed by it, and so it's like, this might be my last year doing it, and I just thought I'd see how I'd feel in the off season if I felt like I was missing something, and I still loved the coaching, and I wasn't missing all the lifting and conditioning. So I just was just going through doing that, and then I told my wife as we were driving to the AVP banquet, I was like, just because she's the one who would say something like, "Don't say anything." Like I'm not.
Oh my God.
Like I don't have a speech prepared. Like not that anyone would care, but like just don't say something. I knew she might say something to Mark. She's like, "Oh yeah, I won't say anything. Yeah. So the night was going through like fine. Like I'm off the hot seat, just hanging out and having a good time, and then all of a sudden, like the end of the night, Mark starts talking about me. I was like, "What is he doing? what is going on right now?" And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Come up here." And I was like, "What? Why am I going up here?" He's like, "You got to say something."
Exactly what I tried not to happen.
It was like my absolute nightmare. So I think I don't know what I even rambled, but it was nice. People afterwards, it was nice. Tri came up, and a number of people came up and said nice things, which was cool, and. So I guess it was good in a way that she did that, but I'm still a little mad.
It was good for us to get a little closure out of you.
There you go. Yeah.
And so it was a career that first main draw was 04?
That sounds right. It might have been 03.
03?
It was like a big Manhattan Beach draw. Yeah, it was 03.
Okay.
First one, I think, where I got prize money was 04.
Okay.
I qualified and did so bad that we didn't get prize money. Yeah.
So 2003 through 2018, that's a solid run. It's a lot of volleyball.
Yeah. It was a lot more than I thought I'd play. Both, indoor and beach. I didn't think I'd even make it collegiately. I was thinking about it a little bit because you had brought up, we'll talk about your career. And kind of feels like there's like 3 different phases. Like my first phase of playing the beach is just like, this is super fun. I'm stoked to be around people that are really good. I never thought about a career as like, I'll, go to a player party and I don't know, just whatever, do that sort of stuff and hang out and have fun playing beach volleyball, which I had become obsessed with. And that's kind of all I thought it would be for a couple of years, and then I'd get a real job. But then I ended up doing well enough to, I guess, keep going, and I got lucky enough to play with Jeff Nygaard. And I feel like that was kind of the second stage, playing with a veteran and just a real professional, like someone who knew how to go, like how to train, how to lift, how to practice, how to prep for a tournament. So I feel like that was kind of the second phase, like just learning from being around him, learning from all the things he told me. And then I feel like the third phase was probably the last like 5 years. And I feel like that's when I became a real learner, I guess would be the right word to put. Sorry, I need some water. All the smoke from the fires.
Yeah. Made it all the way down here.
Yeah, it's been bad. So then, kind of the final phase was a coach, Tom Black. He coaches at the University of Georgia now, and he coached me in high school. So he's been with me for basically my whole volleyball career, and I kind of owe everything I've done to him. But he really instilled in me to become a better learner, and he started coaching me, and I feel like that's when I had the most consistent events and tournaments like put back to back, right? I feel like I played at about as high a level as my potential could be. So kind of, just thinking about like, there's kind of these, it's a neat way to put it. It wasn't that clean, but There's kind of 3 different segments of my playing career.
Yeah, and you mentioned that your last season you felt like you did a mediocre job at both of your passions, but results-wise, both of them were really good. I mean, LMU, you're what, 24 and 14?
Yeah. I think
around that number?
we won. Yeah, I think I just scheduled more matches so we would win more. Yeah. No, and mediocre is not the right word. I think it just felt like life just felt way too hard. It's like I'm playing volleyball and coaching volleyball, and I don't know how well I did it, but it just felt like I was being pulled too hard to continue to do it at the level I wanted to. So, I feel like I put everything into the playing and the coaching, but just like I just don't know how many more years I can do this and feel good about it. And the coaching wasn't getting any smaller. Like the college beach season's getting just bigger every year.
Right.
And the playing season too. Like it used to be, I felt like I could coach, and then the season kind of picked up in April, May, and you could play the whole summer, and that was that. And now it's like January, there's, an event in the Netherlands. In February, they're in Florida, and then it goes all the way through, November. So it's like it's just so much of the year to commit to if you're trying to do 2 jobs. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So,
and when did the coaching begin to pick up? Because I feel like you started out and it was, like you said, it was just, which I feel like a lot of players, that's how they get into, is that, oh, well, this is going to be a fun thing to do for a couple of years, then I'll get a real job. And then you started to get really good. When did the balance begin to start happening between playing and coaching?
I think it was always happening. I think in college, I coached club. I coached boys, like 16 threes, all through college to help pay for food and so I could get McDonald's. And then after that, when I first started playing on the beach, I started coaching at a junior college at Santa Monica College. I was the assistant coach, and I was still doing club then. And in college, I got my teaching credentials, so I just knew like something in teaching or coaching was what I wanted to do. So I figured all of this would help kind of build my resume for when I did stop playing, which I think initially I was like, I'll try the beach for 4 or 5 years. And if it doesn't work out, then, at least I'll have had a little bit of a coaching resume, and that's kind of a steadier paycheck. So it just felt like that was just what I always did. And I think it just became a bigger job from coaching, 16 threes to assistant coaching a junior college to the head coach of a junior college, then to a Division I program. So yeah, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully I've gotten better at doing it as well along the way too.
Seems like you have. I mean, LMU, because you took over in 2015,
Yep.
You were hired, right? And then you coached 16, 17, 18. So this upcoming will be your 4th.
Yeah.
You guys have improved every year, right, numbers-wise. So in terms of LMU, I feel like that's a whole new challenge in terms of taking over a beach program and kind of building it up. How do you, what's the first step you take as a coach when you get a program, just sit back and evaluate and find out what you have to do? How do you go about implementing that?
Still trying to figure that out. So if you guys have advice, let me know. I think you don't want to sit back, and you just got to go. It's like if you want to get better at playing, you've got to play a lot and get a lot of reps and a lot of really mindful reps. And if coaching too, you just got to get in there and get to know, your university. You got to get to know your athletes, and then from there, I think you can build a plan. Like, what sort of culture do you want to create? Like, what are we going to be about? And for us, it's our biggest, very inspired by Tom Black. Like I said, our biggest core value is to be really good learners. So I've tried to study that and understand what a good learner is. And that's what we talk about a lot of the time. And more than the results, it's, we want to win, we want good results, but how good a learner can we be today as coaches and as players? And we think that will lead to better results. And just it's a lifelong skill that I think if we start working on it now, then the girls can take it into everything. So it's kind of an all around the track answer to you. But yeah, I think that's kind of where my first, when I first started out, I think that's where I went, and I'm still going with that.
It's interesting for me hearing you talk about creating that culture, and I mean, you have to create the team and then see what direction they're going and all that stuff. How do you what similarities or differences are there in creating, because you're doing beach volleyball, whether you're playing coaching NCAA or playing pro, you're having to create that culture and a team. Mm-hmm. But one of them you have 20 people, 25 people. Yeah. And the other one you have maybe 3. It's 2 players and a coach. Yeah. What are the kind of differences there, putting a beach team together for you to play on and then an NCAA team together for you to coach?
Yeah, I think there's crossover for sure. You can learn some from each.
I'm trying to do it right now. So I
think it's a little easier. Like as a coach, you can come up with your vision and your philosophy. I mean, you don't want to just be like on an island. You want to know what sort of student athletes you're going to attract, and you want to understand that. But you can really be in control of a lot of that.
Right.
I think it's different as a athlete, as a player, because each year and each partner is completely different, and their values are going to be maybe pretty different than yours.
It's like half the players are gone, right? It's like half the team is just completely changed. Every year if you have a different partner.
Yeah, and the coaching is less consistent, and it's you can't, as a player, I never liked flirting that line as being like a player and a coach. Like I just wanted to be a teammate, and so I think it's understanding your partner. Like I think really like understanding who you are and what you're like at your best, and laying that out. Like these are my values when I'm playing really well. You know, I'm learning at a high level. I'm working really hard, and I don't know what another one is, but those are a couple examples. And then you find your partner and talk to them like what's important to you. And if the first answer is like I want to win a lot, like that's great. That's a little different than like our values sound a little different. You're a little more result oriented, and I might be a little more on the process. So let's figure out where we can align and find some common ground.
Right.
Like I don't want to change you, but I want to understand you, and I want you to understand me. And then we can just figure out like where we want to go from there. And sometimes if there's not any alignment, then it's probably not. Then you start looking another way. But
it's I mean, right now I'm actually playing with the last guy that you are. I'm playing with Trevor.
I think everyone knows that. Yeah.
I'm playing with Trevor, but
let's make it awkward.
No. I don't know why that's hard to say. But he had actually said a few times. He probably didn't say it to you because you know how Trevor is. He says like 5 words.
He doesn't say much. Yeah.
But he did mention like that it was really good playing with you, and you could tell that like you were going to be a really good coach, or you already were. But obviously, you didn't get to hear that stuff.
You might not hear it directly from Trevor.
No, you're not going to hear it from Trevor.
Expect to.
But he did say some stuff to me
nice,
about it. Yeah.
He did it with me. He did. I think he gets a tough rap sometimes and a bad rap.
For sure, yeah.
And he is a really good guy off the court, and he's okay on the court too. But I felt appreciated. I felt like he enjoyed, and he said he felt like he learned a lot from me, and that's probably the most I got out of it. I kind of knew it was near the end for me, and I wanted to help the people around me get better.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you guys killed it.
At times.
1, 2 FIVBs, right?
Yeah, it's only
that's your last year on the FIVB.
Yeah, only 2 medals I ever got, and a lot was because of Trevor. He's a really good player, and it was fun playing with him. It was completely different, like we were just talking about, like completely different personality and different values, and but we were able to communicate. We found like one of the things that was really important to him was communication, and so I was like, yeah, that matters to me too. So let's get really good at that. You don't think of him as a communicator, but I think he had some partners who he felt like it was really quiet for long periods of time.
Right.
And so I think he wanted to change that and wanted to bring that to our team. And communication doesn't mean like just white noise, like you're blabbing all the time. Like we wanted to have clear communication and say things that were helpful and productive. And so we like, all right, let's be about that. Like whatever the score is, like we want to win. He wants to win more than anyone. But if we're communicating at a high level, then like we feel pretty good about the team we're creating, and that's going to lead to more wins.
Yeah, I mean, when I partnered with Trevor, to be honest, it was like I hit him up like as a friend, like, dude, come on, we've never played together, let's just do it for fun, come on. Yeah. And I somehow talked him into it, and but then as I played with him, I was like, damn, like his game's evolved a lot. I never got to play with him at a pro level, but like you said, like he's intellectually really understanding the game at a high level.
Yes.
I'm not the one out there like I told him to be the captain and like you call the timeouts and you do a lot of the game planning and that kind of stuff because he gets it at that level. And I didn't actually even realize that until I played with him. I'm like, damn, this guy's got a really high volleyball IQ. Because I mean, yeah, I think he's misunderstood sometimes. Yeah. But I also think he learned a lot with you because I heard it a few times. He's like, oh, when I was at Mayor, this worked, or
cool.
Mayor says stuff like this. So I think I'm going to reap the benefits of
I hope so.
some of the stuff that you put out there.
I would love to see you guys in the Olympics and feel like I played a tiny, tiny, tiny role. It's going to be all because of you guys.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think he surprised me. I don't want to make this a full Trevor Crabb podcast, but
he would love that.
Yeah, he's probably loving it. But I wasn't sure going in how much he would embrace the things I would try to push. Like I wanted to work with his serve a little bit and had some ideas, and he was all in. He's like, yeah, I'll try that. I think a lot of people aren't comfortable being vulnerable and making changes when you've had success like he had already had, but he was all in. And I think if he feels like it's gonna help him win more and have better results, like he will do it
100%.
times 10, and he's okay with even looking bad for a little bit in training and making mistakes with it, which not too many athletes do. And I think he'll continue to improve if he keeps with that mindset, and I hope he does.
Mm-hmm. I feel like your career kind of had, you mentioned it went in 3 kind of phases for you. Just looking through your BBB a little bit earlier, it looked like you would have like this big surge, right? And then it would kind of level out for a minute, and then you'd have another surge and level out, and then another one too. Like you look at the jump you made from, I think, 05 to 06, when because you were in main draw with Matt Prosser, and then you jumped back into the qualifiers with Keenan, and then you guys like missed a few, and then you took like a 25th, a 17th, and then a 3rd. And you just had this big jump there, and then to 09 with Jeff Nygaard, you had another one, and then like 15, 16, in 2012, like all those years too, like your last 5 were just a lot of winning. What I'm wondering is like the gaps between those surges. Like I know you're not a results-based guy, so how do you go about just keep on putting in the daily work, even if it goes like 2 years without making that semifinal again?
Yeah, that's pretty hard. I mean, I care about results. That's why you play. You want to win, but you just don't have control over them. So I don't want to like stress about them if I can't control something. My first thought when you were saying that, and it could be wrong. It's like when you think about history, a lot of times we create these stories that are probably false. But anyways, my first thought was like, I'd like to believe that I was progressing all that time, maybe like sometimes bigger jumps and sometimes smaller. And I think more than anything, I would guess is I was able to form a team that was better than the sum of our parts. Like we were, I was playing with a different partner and getting worse results, and we weren't getting the most out of each other. And then I'd find, Jeff Nygaard, and we were able to get the most out of each other. And the results were maybe higher than my individual ability or my athleticism or whatever it was, but we were able to create a team that was really good, or at least really consistent, and able to do that with time. And there's Brad Keenan was the same. Was able to play with him for years and do the same thing. So I'd like to believe those were like where the jumps came, just finding the right partner and working through working to develop our strengths and figure out where our weaknesses were and just sticking with it for years instead of one tournament and you're done, which I think is a big epidemic now, especially on the women's side. So I'd love to push more people. If you feel like you have a person that's aligned, like we want to accomplish the same goals, we want to play these sorts of tournaments, and you're aligned in that way, like we're going to put in this sort of effort. Like if you found that, then like be okay with one poor result and go attack your weaknesses and figure out how you can build a really good team. Because usually that's like, I think it really is about, can you make a team that's better than what you actually are as your ability as a player. That's when it's really fun to be a part of. Like that's when the sport is awesome.
Yeah. How do you know, like, is there like a feeling you would have to know that like you found that? Because I think that a really perfect example of the sum being better than the 2 parts would be Tri and Trevor. I think that you guys together are probably a lot better than most people would think, just looking at 2 blockers playing the same side on paper.
Better than we thought.
Right? How do you, like, is there a certain feeling, like maybe you just had a match where you just knew it kind of clicked? How do you know when you found like your guy?
Yeah, I don't think it's that, like, there's no like magic moment, I don't think. And you can see like the chemistry that Tri and Trevor would have. I think I didn't mention Ryan Doherty, who's the same kind of thing. I think you can recognize it more over a stretch of time, like when you put together like back-to-back practices where it's like, wow, we're really in it, and we're attacking our weaknesses, and we're progressing, and I'm seeing us slowly get better. So I think it's more just seeing that over time, and then how do we respond? Like we had a bad tournament, what does the next practice look like? How do we respond to that? Wow, like he's still with me, I'm not worried about being dropped, or if my partner is still has my back. Or so I think it's that, like those sort of, there's those moments along the way, but it just happens over time. I don't think there's like one moment where you're like, oh yeah, we're all world now. Yeah.
Was there any characteristics that you looked for in a partner by the end of it? Were there certain traits that you knew that's a guy you would want to play with?
Well, if they could handset and stuff a lot of balls, that was probably no. I mean, yeah, there were trying to think of what. I mean, I like the idea near the end of being able to make an imprint on someone, or I felt like I could hopefully teach them a little bit of what I had learned, and that they were open to learning stuff. I feel like I got that with Jeremy Casebeer and with Trevor. And I enjoyed that side of it. But yeah, I don't know. Outside of that, I think just someone who's hungry to like compete and play our sport.
We're going to pause real quick for a word from our sponsors who keep the show moving. We are incredibly grateful for all of our sponsors and all of you, the listeners, who keep the show moving and keep moving us forward. Couldn't do it without you. And now it's nuts that how fast the AVP season went by. But since it is over now, it is probably time that you re-upped on your volleyballs. I know that mine have turned to a kind of brownish yellow color, so I know it's time for me to re-up on my volleyballs. I'm sure it is time for you too as well. So go to wilsonvolleyball.com, use the discount code WilsonSand to get 20% off of all purchases at wilsonvolleyball.com. This show is also brought to you, as always, by our guys at volleyballmag.com. They are your daily digital news source for all things volleyball. They got indoor covered. They got beach covered, whether it's from Stad to Hermosa Beach. Ed Chan has the best pictures in the game. Lee Feinswag has the most insightful interviews. Every now and then I contribute something that might be worthless, might be worthwhile reading. I'm not sure, but if you're looking for volleyball news, make sure to go to volleyballmag.com, your daily digital news source for all things volleyball. We would also like to welcome Volley Camp Hermosa as a new sponsor of the show. If you're listening, you've probably heard of Volley Camp Hermosa. It is the place to go to get better at beach volleyball. Whether you are planning a trip to Hermosa Beach, California, the mecca of beach volleyball, or live locally, they have professional coaches to take your game to the next level. For those making the beach volleyball pilgrimage, they offer week-long adult training camps that are the complete beach volleyball experience. If you live locally or you can't join a camp, you can take their weekly classes and or private training. All levels are welcome, from A to AAA to open. Sign up online at www.volleycamphermosa.com. I'll say that one more time, www.volleycamphermosa.com. Or for more information, you can just give them a call. It is 234-PLAY-VCH. Or you can email them. info@volleycamphermosa.com. We will see you guys on the sand. And, of course, we always love our sponsors at PacificCoastWealthManagement.com, because if your financial plan goes beyond making it into the main draw of an AVP volleyball tournament, check out our online planning tool at PacificCoastWealthManagement.com. We all know that you beach volleyball players need to put that oodles of prize money somewhere. You might as well start it with Pacific Coast Wealth Management. So when you get to the site, click on their link, build your financial plan here, and work with a licensed fiduciary advisor who can discuss everything from 401ks, IRAs, life insurance, estate plans, tax strategy, Social Security, investments, or good old stock tips, also known as a lot of stuff that beach volleyball players genuinely don't know a whole lot about, which is why we need the help with our guys at Pacific Coast Wealth Management. Business owners who need to offer benefits, retirement, or pension plans for their employees, partners, or themselves, you can give them a call too. Or 529 college savings or Roth IRA for your kids. Did you know that you can give $15,000 a year to your kid? I know when I was a kid, I wouldn't have minded that. Start with your favorite volleyball player by connecting with us at Pacific Coast Wealth Management on Instagram, or www.pacificcoastwealthmanagement.com, or you can give them a call, 949-637-7052. Again, that is 949-637-7052. A lot of the listeners of the show are professional athletes, and as we all know, you cannot have enough recovery, which is why the show is also brought to you by our good friends at FireflyRecovery.com. So what Firefly Recovery is, it is a wearable device that simulates blood flow throughout the damaged or sore or afflicted area, say a knee. And what you do, you just strap it on, and it helps you recover much faster. So when you are on that 12-hour flight to Stad, or a 36-hour trip trip to South Africa. You can put this on and you're not going to get that super sore, kind of swollen feeling that you get after you fly on planes. Actually, you can make your trip productive by putting on Firefly Recovery, helping heal up that area, getting off, and you're going to be playing the best volleyball of your life. So give them a visit at fireflyrecovery.com. Let us know what you think, and use the discount code SANDCAST in all caps for a 10% off. All right, that is SANDCAST, all caps, for 10% off at fireflyrecovery.com. And now, back to the show.
At what point did it in your career switch from, it might have been that Tom Black phase, but where you wanted to go from learning to teaching? Not that learning ever ends. Like you said, you always want to be a learner.
Yeah.
But like, at what point did you want to like instill your knowledge on your partners more so? Maybe always, but
I think once I finally felt like I knew something.
yeah, I guess so.
It was a long time I didn't know anything.
Right.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I remember thinking like, and talking with like Billy Allen, like, gosh, it'll be so nice like when like Eric Fenoy Milana's gone and like Stein Metzger, and like we'll finally be those guys, and like it still like never felt like I was those
you're
guys.
that guy.
Like, I never felt like it. I was like, when am I gonna be that guy? Like, it didn't happen.
No, we're definitely sad but happy that you're gone.
Yeah, right.
I hope that's a compliment.
But sorry, I forget where I was going with that. But
I was just talking about the trend. Is there like a specific time when you were like, I mean, I guess there wouldn't be a exact moment, but I mean, I think of my time early on, like you played with Nygaard, where you're like, wow, I'm really learning a bunch and absorbing a lot. And I always played with Hayden for a while in the beginning. And now I'm in this in-between phase, and I'm playing with Trevor. So now I'm playing with someone my own age, where we're going to have to create. We don't have a veteran. We're going to have to go based on everything we've learned so far. You think there was like a specific moment for you when you were kind of made that jump from, I'm going to be kind of absorbing and learning anything from everyone else, and then you made a jump maybe to like, now I trust everything I know, and I'm going to go on that.
I think in a much smaller way. I think like John Hayden is able to do it better than anybody. I feel like he's pretty confident. I think that might be the right word in who he is.
He's going to run his system.
Yeah.
If you don't want to run it, then it's not going to work.
Right. So he's very clear about what he wants, how he's going to do it.
Yeah.
He's very disciplined, and he's earned the right to do that. I never felt like John Hayden. I always felt like I didn't really know what I was doing, and was stoked if someone wanted to play with me and wanted to like say and do the things that made them better.
Right.
So I always felt like I was more of a, like, hopefully a good teammate than really a coach or a leader of the team. I probably, to a fault, I think probably sometimes I should have, maybe. But I think I was a little bit uncomfortable in that, and just maybe that's where I didn't have quite the confidence that John Hayden had. But maybe near the end, when I just knew, like, I'm not going to be playing that much longer.
Right.
Or started to, and I think I did start to feel like I know a little bit more. Like, I'm starting to understand how to do this thing. Or I felt comfortable enough to do it. But I always felt like if I wasn't focusing on myself, then it hurt the team more, like, too much. Like, if I started, I noticed at times, like, I'd start to, like, focus on Trevor or on Jeremy or whoever, on Ryan, and my play would really suffer, and our team was way worse, even though maybe it got them a little bit better.
Right.
It's like the payoff wasn't worth it. Where, like, John Hayden is able to do it. Like, he's just so good all the time. So, so, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Did it in your own way, kind of. But
maybe.
It seems like you prioritized the whole time, just like team, be a team first, be kind of neutral.
Yeah.
Right. In the sense, like open to what the other guy wants to bring to the table.
I think I was much more that way.
Whereas Hayden's like, ready to run my system.
Yeah. Not ready. We're gonna run my system.
We're gonna run my system.
I think one of my best strengths was being supportive and getting the best out of my partner. I always want to make them feel like they were better than they were. Like, I was gonna, not a cheerleader, but in an authentic way. I was gonna hopefully make them feel like they were big, and so that's something I tried to do versus maybe critiquing them or bringing them down, because I felt like I was always messing it up, so I couldn't really tell them what to do.
If you can go ahead, try.
Nah, go for it.
Let's say, I don't know if you've taken the time to really, like, if you, like, kind of reflected on the career yet, or is it still, because I know you're really busy with LMU and kind of the fall, the exhibition sort of season, but have you, like, reflected and, like, taken time to absorb it all in and really look back on it yet?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the drive over, because I knew we were going to do this for a second. I came up with that 3 segments, which probably is like completely.
You used all your material in the beginning.
Not that much. I mean, the stuff I've thought about, like, even just from like high school to junior college to playing for whatever it was, 14, 15 years. I always thinking about it, I feel like I was usually like probably the worst player on my team. Not the worst. Definitely not the best player on my team. On some of the indoor teams, I was in the middle, and usually on the beach teams, I feel like I was the second best player. So I guess that is the worst. Yeah, like I was saying before, I feel like some of the time, not all the time. There's some partners that it didn't go as good as I would have liked, but some of the time, I was able to create a team, like I said before, I think better than what my abilities were, and I think that's something I would love. Like, if people, I don't think people think about me too often, but if they did, they would just say, he got the most out of what he had. Like, and he showed up to practice prepared, and he, throughout his career, he got a little bit better each season. So I think that's what I'd love to, like, I don't think that's 100% true, but I'd love to feel that that's what I tried to do. That's what I tried to live.
And say, if they're like looking back on it, is there anything that you would have changed about the way you went about beach volleyball in your career, and anything that you really liked about the way things went that you're pretty proud of, just the way, because I mean, I know that I don't think I've heard a single person say, like, even utter one negative syllable about John Mayer. So I mean, obviously, like, you're extremely well respected across the tour. I know that Ben Vaught looks up to you and Billy. Like, he raves about you guys. So I know that the impact you've had on sort of the up and coming generation is a big one. So I didn't know if there's anything that you were particularly proud of, or anything that you would have changed about the way you just went about your career and improving and that sort of thing.
I'm definitely proud of that. If people are saying that, I mean, that would mean a ton. I think in terms of improving upon, there's probably a lot more. I feel like the first, from like 2003 to about 2012-ish, 13, I feel like I was pretty stubborn, and I felt like I guess I wasn't open to learning, and I don't know if it's hard when you don't have great coaches around all the time or consistent coaching, and I think I had a fixed mindset about a lot of things. Like, I'm just not good at that, so I'm not going to work on that, and I didn't develop the way I would have liked to. But I think I missed out on. I could have been more consistent and a better player in some of those years. But I think from that time on, I made a commitment to tackling, wherever I had a fixed mindset, wherever I felt like I had a weakness, I was going to go work on it, and I was going to go practice it and try to get better at it. I think maybe that'd be something I'd hopefully be proud of. People maybe saw me improve in some areas that I wasn't as strong in. But yeah, if I had any sort of effect on, actually this would be, I remember watching, like, when I first started playing, I'd go watch Todd Rogers play and be like, wow, I could never, like, ever do that. I will never be able to, like, I'm going to be stuck in these qualifiers, and this guy's unreal. And that's still the case. And nothing against Stein Metzger. Stein was an amazing player, but I remember watching him play. I was like, you know what? I might be able to do that. Like, he's right-handed, but I could do the opposite version of that. And I might have said this before when I talked to you guys, but I feel like if people saw me play who were in the qualifier, that they could probably go, I think I could do that, or maybe I could do that even better than he could do. So hopefully I maybe bridge the gap. I think you see people like Phil and like Try and some really good athletes out there. It just seems like this magical, impossible thing. So I like the idea that I maybe gave some hope to some people who thought it was impossible.
I think you smaller guys get a lot of people to kind of relate to you a little bit more. Like Taylor gets a really big following. A lot of people love watching Taylor. He has a little bit of that magic,
He does. He's got some magic.
Yeah, he's got some magic, but
he's little. He's size-wise, he walks around, and he's 140 pounds.
Right, so people can relate to him, and you certainly. What was the skill specifically that you didn't feel like was worth your time developing? I'm wondering, because when I think John Mayer, and I played against you for the last 6 years or so, I just think you have one of the most complete all-around games, which I respect a lot because that's what I'm trying to develop in myself. But I'm interested to hear what one of the skills was that you...
There's things I just avoided, and I just felt like, I'm not good at that. And I think something like transition hitting, like, I think I don't know, it probably wasn't this clear. It was like, I'm just not good at it, but I was really inefficient in it, and I wouldn't go out of my way to like work on it.
Right.
Transition hitting mean like after you dig and go into attack. I think like left side attacking, I was really like, I just avoid it, even though it happens a lot, as a lefty, you're just pegged as you know, to play the right side your whole career and don't get many reps. So I just kind of avoid left side attacking and probably left a lot of points on the board for all the chances I had on the left. I'm sure there's others. I think like serving, I probably played it safe for a long time. Just kind of pop it in and just think, I'm just like an average server and that's fine. And, I'll do other things. And so I think there's just areas like that where I just kind of pegged myself as what I was. And then when you peg yourself and you tell yourself that, then you don't want to go take risks and you don't want to look bad. Like that's what I am. So I'm not going to like get outside of that. So I think there's more, probably more even outside of like skill wise, more within my like, my self-talk or my body language or, there's things, other skills like that I was just like, well, that's who I am. Like, that's fine. Instead of like, well, if I want to play like Todd, like, I've got to, I'm sure like I'd imagine his self-talk is like pretty productive. Like he's not just like, you suck all the time. So yeah.
Well, body language was.
His body language, that was a weakness of his. But I think there's all sorts of things like that where I just, just said that's what I am and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to pick two out because, I mean, towards the end of your career, I think if we had to go around and say, like, who has one of the better serves, especially your float serve developed a lot, but your jump serve was pretty nasty too at times, I would have thought that that's one of your strengths for sure.
It became that way because I changed.
Right, okay, yeah.
I read Carol Dweck's Growth Mindset, and I had Tom Black as a big influence. And he really pushed me to change that and go attack it. And it's like, you could be, right now, you're an average
lefty,
server.
Dude, so like we all are used to this spin coming in a different way.
Yeah, but I don't think I would have gone that direction. I wouldn't have pushed myself in that way to develop that if I hadn't changed my mindset. So
nice.
that was huge.
Yeah, I remember one match. It was like the semifinal in Huntington in 2015 or something.
Yeah.
And you were just like, you just shredded us.
I think that might have been the best match of my career.
Really?
Like that match really stands out. Like I probably played a lot that
I've been thinking
remember.
about that one for a while. I was like, you guys be careful. Mewhirter played the most complete match I've ever seen anyone play. Like you hit every part of the court and Hayden and I felt like we were playing good and like, we had our everything going on defense. And if it was like we gave you one little sliver of court, you'd hit it. And then we'd give you the opposite side of the court and you'd hit it. You go like off speed, jumbo, hammer, bounce it both ways. I'm just like, he's literally hit every single shot there is. Like,
it's funny that you remember that because that one really stands out to me. And that was probably the most complete match I ever played.
Wow.
And playing, like it probably meant more too. It stood out more because you guys, I think, beat Ryan and I a lot. And John Hayden, other than Phil, I probably have my worst record against. So I remember just walking away from that, like we just 1-2, like pretty handily. Like I was lights out. Like, like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great lesson for beach players is that every match feels so different. How it can feel like a match like that just felt so easy, and that's super rare. That was one in I don't know how many matches I played, 1 million.
It's easy to get like reeled into like, wow, now I'm playing. Now that's how I play, apparently. And then you show up the next match like, oh, where was that?
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to show up again.
Yeah, you show up 2 hours later. Not even the next day or the next week, like the same day.
Right.
2 hours later, and you're like, I cannot hit.
I just played the worst match of my life after the best match of my life.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. And that's such a frustrating part of it. And 2 hours later, like maybe you're more fatigued and the wind's picked up and like it's a different environment and there's all these different factors and it's a team presenting different
And now
challenges.
You got to live with now you got to play with that in your mind that you played really well before, but you can't use it,
Yeah.
Like that one. That's like something that keeps creeping
it's like,
in on
I
you.
could do that.
Like now I have to fight that thought in this next match.
Yeah. Well, I just think, that's such a rarity. I think you just have to be okay with knowing that a lot of games are going to be a struggle and going to be hard and things aren't going to go your way.
Right.
And you can still win and compete.
Yeah.
And you can still, even when you don't feel as good as you want to feel.
Right.
And in that same tournament, we played you guys in the final. And I remember in the final, it was this complete struggle for me. Like, I didn't play that well. I mean, I think we lost in 3, like in a tight one.
You certainly had us. I think we were like, well, shit, if Mayer does that again, we're kind of screwed. Let's just see what we can do. So you had us like fully heightened, you know?
Yeah, and I think it was a good final. I don't think I played bad, but it was nowhere near like whatever it was.
2 or 3. You were there, weren't you?
It was 3.
It was in 3.
Yeah,
I think
you
blocked me at like
You had a
14,
block for the
13.
win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was just 12 hours before I played the best match of my life against the same team in the same court, like in stadium court.
Right.
I don't think the conditions were that much different, but I remember walking away like, wow, that didn't feel the same. Like, why is that? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
that's sports, and that's why sports are so great because you don't know the outcome, you don't know how well you're going to play, you don't know how well the other team's going to play, and so there's all this mystery and excitement and unknown, and it's fun to just go see what you can make out of that.
It's funny, the first 2 beach tournaments that I ever went to, New Orleans of 2016, where you turned on your superpowers after losing 21-9 in the first set of the finals. And I was sitting there with my buddy JD Hamilton, and he was like, I'm pretty sure John Mayer has superpowers. Like, you guys just turned it on and just completely flipped it around. And then the second one I watched was the finals in Huntington.
Man, you should have come to more tournaments.
So I had a great first impression.
Yeah. Like, that guy's really good. You should have come the last, like, 15 years before that. Like, wow, that's kind of rough.
You had a great career.
Yeah.
But the first time you mentioned that your float serve was something, or your serve in general, was what you worked on. The first time that I ever played against you was with me and Rafi, and you were playing with Spencer. And I was like, we shanked like 100 float serves. And I was like, Rafi, how do you pass this?
There's no easy way to do that. Everyone does that when he's float serves on. You're like, oh god, here we go.
I was like,
just don't look.
I was like, this thing's moving so much. Like,
I wish it was on more.
terrified.
Float serving is like, let's go back to what I said. It's just a skill. I mean, I didn't have that serve for a long time, and I know some secrets now that I can't tell anyone. No, there's just some really simple things you can go work on. And serving's the only closed loop skill. It's the only skill you have complete control over. Yeah. Every other skill is dependent on someone else on the court. So you can practice it the most, and you can control the most factors. So you can decide, the type of serve, where you're going to put it, and all these things and all these little factors that can make you a more complete server. I think most of the numbers from the analytics I understand, which I don't know much, but I know some smart people that serving is the biggest factor and the most important skill in the match. So found that, I was like, well, I better go get good at it. So we go work on it a lot. And especially with the Mikasa, I think it opened the door up for me a little bit more in that, like, I'd never be able to hit jump spin like Evandro, but I could hit a float serve with the Mikasa that was pretty tough, and I could do it a lot. And that would kind of hopefully even out, not quite even out Evandro, but even out over the overall serving level. So I think that ball might have helped me a little bit.
Definitely more energy efficient.
Yeah.
Evandro just winding up and banging that thing every time.
Yeah, and jump serves, I mean, a jump server can take over a match. They can also be the worst server in the match. They're kind of the high and middle or low ground, and the jump float servers are usually the middle ground because you're able to make it a lot. But it's also going to be really tough. So if you can serve tough and in over a full match, you've got a pretty good shot to be in it, even if you don't side out that well.
I feel like you played with the U.S. version of Evandro and Casebeer, because he has matches where it's like, good luck. Like, you don't have any chance of that. And then he'll have matches where he'll miss like 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Too. As a partner, did you just understand that was the way it was going to go? Sometimes at some matches, like, it was just going to be lights out and he could get 5 or 6 points in a row. And then there were some matches where you might not play a point for a little bit.
Yeah. At first it was frustrating because I felt like we were giving away too many free points. And I think it took me out of my game a little bit. But then I started to embrace, like, this is just who we are. Like, we just serve aggressive. Yeah. And let's just live it, and let's go for it, and let's be okay with when we miss. And it became more fun then. I think we played a little bit better. So I think it's just spending that time maybe off the court with your partner. Like, one of your strengths is jump serving. So let's take advantage of it. Let's be okay with some misses, and let's play free and go for it. And once you have that conversation, then you can kind of let those hopefully try to let those errors not bother you as much, and just know that some matches, like we were just talking about, like sometimes it's going to be on and other times not, but you're always working in practice to make it a little bit more consistent. And there's those little factors, like can you get your toss more often on your right shoulder? If you can do that more often, then you're going to make more. Can you go a little more slow to fast on your jump serve approach so you can hit it with range, and just work on those little things so you can make it more consistent.
Did you think, so you read that in analytics that the serve was the most important. Do you think that that's true after having worked on your serve and then played at that level?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's less important what I think. It's more important what the data shows.
Right.
But, now I've probably got a lot of confirmation bias because I watch and like, oh, they're serving easy. That's why they're losing. But yeah, a guy named Joe Trinzi, who was the national team statistician and assistant coach. He did a big study on the FIVB, and that was one of his big findings, was that serving was the most important skill. And the same thing on, jump servers, they're either the worst or the best server, and the jump floats are in the middle ground. And I think the big takeaway is that a server can take over a match. A good server can do that. A good passer can't. A good setter can't. I've seen blockers do it here and there. It's harder to do, but a good server can take over.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you had that ability to just take over as a defender? Were there any matches where you just kind of walked away? And I know that as humble as you are, you're probably not going to actually admit it. But were there any where you mentioned that you played at like kind of the peak? Yeah, when you played against Try. But
yeah, 1 out of a million. I think it's pretty hard. I'd never seen the Manhattan Beach Open this year, and I watched Taylor Crabb. I was like, wow, I've never seen a defender take over a match as much as he did. But they still lost.
Well, the one guy who can do it as a blocker is Phil, for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's really, really hard as a defender to take over a match, and you probably have to serve pretty tough to get opportunities to take over, especially at the FIVB level. Like, hitters can hit with so much range and hit so sharp. For you to get involved, you've got to get them a little out of system. So I think as a defender, I think it's really tough. But if you want to be an elite defender, you probably want to convince yourself of that, even if the numbers don't say that.
Right.
Like, you should tell yourself that. But I think defense is the least important skill in the men's game. I don't think that's that controversial statement.
Do you have like a certain kind of ranking in your mind? Not that you wrote it down or something, but like serving first, then this, then this.
I think the study showed it, and I'm not sure how he figured it. Joe Trinzi. But it was serving, passing. Those obviously happen the most often. If you serve tough, it's pretty highly correlated. You'll score the point. If you pass in system, it's pretty highly correlated to score the point. So those are clearly like the most important. Usually you win that battle. You win the match. I think setting was third, which that was a little bit of a surprise. I think good setters you can take away that tough serving or take away that bad passing.
Right.
You can fix there and then transition setting up as well. I want to say fourth was attacking. I think fifth was blocking and sixth was defense.
Huh.
I think it's switched for women. Women blocking's last, defense. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah,
you don't think of serving as like oh my god, I gotta go practice, like get ready to be the best I can possibly be. I'm like, I gotta go serve a bunch of balls. Like that's not the first thing that jumps into your mind. The first thing is like you're probably gonna go like hit some balls, right? Like that seems like to be the thing that attracts most people.
Sure. It's hard to just go out there on your own, like serving balls and running to go shag them.
And how many balls are you, when you do go hit, how many of them are from a shanked pass? Yeah. They're all perfect passes usually.
Yeah, you want to look good.
And if you're not taking care of your passing, then you're never getting to hit those balls that you just practiced, right?
Yeah. The Pier's not getting any closer. So.
And the reality is like they're all important. Those are all big skills. It's not like none of them are unimportant. I think they're weighted.
Right.
And if you could be the best server in the world or the best defender, I think I'd take the best server. I think you could take over more matches. The best defender is not going to be able to take over as many.
I think serving precedes the defense anyway. It's the only closed-loop skill. And it was funny because over this past offseason, Reed would go out and he'd have like 3 bags full of Mikases, and we would just serve like 50 jump serves down the line.
Right.
Like 50 jump serves down that line. Because his biggest thing when he had Rich Lamborn out, he said, well, what's the shortest distance between points? He's like, just line to line. That's as fast as it's going to go.
Right.
And I was kind of like, was sort of bored by it and didn't really see. I was like, well, I kind of want to like pass the ball and set. And then, but this year, I think serving was probably the thing that helped me out the most. Because no matter how bad you're passing or setting, you can sort of save yourself with serving, I felt like. And that was a big thing for me. It just sucked to my serve wasn't on.
There's like a mental part of it too. When you have a good serve and they pass it just not perfect, you don't feel like you can feel like you're a little bit more on the offense when you're playing D. You know, you're like, all right, let's take advantage of that bad pass.
Yeah.
Rather than when they're passing good every time, you're like, oh God, what are they bringing at us?
Yeah.
They're bringing full force at us, you know?
I feel like it's close to impossible to stop. You're talking about like a top 10 FIVB team or even a top 10 AVP team. If they're in system, like a balanced setter,
Right.
a hitter who's on 2 feet, like pass forward, it's going to be pretty, like you're going to stop, I don't know, 2 out of 10.
Right.
You know, it's a pretty low percentage. So to take, you know, if you miss it, you're going to score 0 out of 10. So it's a little different than 2 out of 10. So you
Right.
have more of a chance. But if you serve, a really easy ball, you're going to score 2 out of 10. But if you serve something tough, or you get them off the net even a little bit, or you make the passer go to a knee, you know, just you're slowly improving your chances. Maybe now it's 3 or 4 or 5 out of 10. That's a big difference when you serve, I don't know how many 15 balls in a set.
Right.
Like you're just changing your chances. And I think it can equalize teams more. Like if you're the weaker team, I would take probably more risks from the service line to try to equalize the level, to make the level closer.
Totally.
And that's where like wind, I think, can help because you can, even if you're not a great server, like the wind can maybe bring you back in it because you can hit some weird serves, and that's where you can kind of catch up. I don't know if your passing can do that or your defense can equalize it as much. So that's why it's so important.
You also got to look at the matchups, right? Like to decide how you want to serve, if you want to be really aggressive or not. Like if I'm playing Evandro, it's, you know, me and Trevor are smaller blocks. So like I'm going to try to go for it a little bit because I know that he can overpower a block. I want him to have less angles. And if him or Phil or Anders are right on top of the net, like we're screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to take those calculated risks.
Yeah,
Whereas
for
like
sure.
guys that want to hit low, which I tend to be usually better at
I remember
hitting
that.
those guys that want to hit low.
Yeah.
I might give them a little easier serve and kind of let them come to us on D.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, yeah, I think you want to know your matchup. That was a very general statement.
For
what
sure.
I'm saying. But yeah,
No, yeah.
I think overall, yeah. Yeah, if there's someone you have their number, like you're going to take a little less
Give them a
risk.
free ball.
Yeah, you're still not going to give them a free
Serve them
ball.
underhand
Yeah.
just to get in their head.
Guys are too good to serve that easy, but
No.
I think you just calculate how tough you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you still want to make like 8 out of 10 serves. You still want to hit a serve that you can make a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
but can you develop one that is able to get the other side in trouble often enough when you're making 8 out of 10?
I wonder what their percentage is indoors because I know that, oh my God, Spra on the national team just
like
lets them just lets them rip it.
Yeah.
Ace her out. But they get a lot of aces because they're hitting so hard.
Yeah, in the press conference after the UCLA Long Beach State National Championship, I was cracking up because he walked in and UCLA was, I think, maybe 4 points away from winning a national championship, and then they missed, I want to say, like,
Yeah, that's right.
they
They
missed
missed a
like
bunch, yeah.
8 out of 10
Yeah.
to end the either third or fourth set, and then their
Jeez.
serving just fell apart at the end. And but their serving was what got them the commanding leads in the first place.
Right.
Spra comes in, and before he takes a question, he says, "I'm not fielding a question about serving." And, he was like, "We're bombing away. We're ripping. That's like who we are. That's what got us here.
Yeah.
We weren't changing."
That's the hard part about like a small sample size. You know, if you looked at their whole season, that's probably what got them there, aggressive serving.
Yeah.
Like, but then everyone's going to look at those 5 minutes where it was off,
Right.
which happened a lot throughout the year, I'm sure. It's the same like a football coach. Like what we do, we go for it on 4th down, you know, and it works most of the time. But then when there's the one time where it's, you know, a big play,
Yeah,
everyone
Pete
remembers
Carroll
that.
and the Seahawks.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Throwing or not running it for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's like where the journalists come in. But I think someone who's a coach who looks at the long game, like, you got to commit to who you are and what's going to give you the best chance over time. And then sometimes it's going to, you know, come back to haunt you. But I think over time it's going to lead to good things.
Those damn journalists.
Yeah.
As I just sink into my
Podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
Journalists are great. I shouldn't say that. We're getting too much heat these days.
Well, I mean, for the most, it's funny to watch because, like, I don't really do all that much journalism anymore because most of it's just writing for Volleyball Mag and Dig. It's just feature stuff, and I'll watch like the day-to-day stuff, just like the game stories coming out of, like, I mean, beat writers for football games. We were just watching. I'll have to write 6 stories today. I'm like, I don't miss that.
Yeah,
I'm good with this.
yeah. I can't imagine how they actually are able to watch full games and really analyze it.
It's
You just get highlights, and I imagine, I don't know.
No, it's basically like you have to, especially for like high school. I think high school sports are by far the hardest to cover because you have to keep a play-by-play, keep a box score.
Oh my
then
God.
you have to do stats, and then you have a 5-minute deadline.
It's crazy.
Of course, you're gonna mess up.
Yeah, that's
There's no
chance.
chance.
I mean, you think about those perspectives, like this coach who's been with this team, maybe these players for like 10 years, 4 years, and their perspective coming in versus someone who was looking at a box score and has to come up with a 5-minute summary.
That's it, and you have
it's like,
to
how
just
do
go on
you?
it.
Yeah, how can you? That's a hard. To be able to come together in that situation, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, so I mean, they get a lot of heat because the jobs that's asked of them are almost impossible.
Yeah, that is impossible. Yeah.
Especially with politics. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
it's nuts.
Yeah.
I think the biggest skill difference I think I saw from the qualifier level to the main draw this year, and I don't know if you'd agree, wasn't because anybody can go out and rip a jump serve.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think like you could get any indoor guy who's really not that great at beach yet, he could have the best serve in the whole qualifier, but then he wouldn't be able to put it together. I think the biggest difference was setting from what I saw, because like in the very first main draw match I had in Austin, we played Billy and Ryan, and like we were getting, like I was serving pretty well, and we were getting Ryan out of system a lot. I was like, all right, here we go, and then Billy would like tee him up from like 10 feet off the court, and I was like, what do you do with that, Raph?
That's the worst.
He was like, yeah, and I can't, of course, I have a pretty bad habit of peeling on perfect sets, because like the qualifier level, like
You can get away with
you
that.
get them out of system, like it's usually going to be a pretty bad set. So I have a tendency to get out of there early. So first couple of main draws, I would peel, and I was like, it's a 50-50.
Yeah. Well, and you got to realize that that's then your advantage. You know, if they set it over or tight at all, that's the blocker's advantage. So every time I see you do it, like I give you so much shit on it. Like, what are you doing? They're setting you.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to shovel it to the
You
net.
have more time to pull in those situations. That's something with my team. They do that a lot. Like, we got them in trouble. Let's pull. And then they overset it. And like, gosh, what are you doing?
Especially like if I was jump serving and running up, I'd run up halfway and be like, yes, I can stay. Oh, no.
No, I think setting is a really important skill. I mean, all the skills matter, but setting, you can definitely make a big impact. And I think at the men's level, where people are hand setting so well from so many different positions, you can take away really tough serving. I think it's an area where the women's level can keep getting better. And I think for sure when I look at college beach with some of the hitters who don't have as much range or ability to adjust to sets, you can just see like on this set, she has one option.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we set like this over time, like you're just in such a tough spot. But if you see people put up a set with good shape over and over, there's enough court out there that even if you're not that dynamic, you can put it in a tough spot. So I think setting is really underrated and probably undertrained as well. So that's a big one.
Do you see that change happening? Because from what I hear, and from what I see, it seems like a lot of the younger girls are coming out with better and better hands. And
There's
like
more.
That's like kind of the standard now.
There's more. I think the one hard thing is the juniors level. It's still, players reffing players almost every time. The CBVAs and all the like junior showcases and the AAUs. So if a ball is even like on the FAV, no one would even think twice about it. It has a little like side spin or not much. Like everyone's stopping and then the 15-year-old girl is gonna all right.
They're scared.
Yeah, I'll just bump set.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to a Canadian coach. He coaches up in Vancouver, and he was saying they made a rule where as long as the setter is facing where they're going, they'll play it.
Let it chuck.
Yeah, you can chuck it just at the juniors level.
It's good because they're gonna get better at it.
Right.
The more they do it.
That's the only way you can.
And like the game's actually evolving at the highest level. Now they're letting us do anything, which I kind of like now. I'm just like, I'm chucking it all over the place and just flicking it. But yeah, I mean, let the kids do it however they want.
For sure.
And then it's only gonna get better.
Yeah.
But if they don't do it, then they're for sure screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta get the reps with it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do it in practice, but another thing to build that confidence in match play where the scoreboard's there.
Yeah.
And you got to give the kids a chance to do that.
Right.
You call it so tight. It's like there's no way they're gonna take those chances.
Right.
So I love what when Adam first kind of brought Phil out to their house in South Carolina, when they would practice, they just wouldn't call doubles. So you just hand set everything, we'll play it all out, and then now we see Phil. He's just got the sauciest hands in the world.
Imagine if someone was standing there saying, "No, that's a double."
Yep.
No, that's a double. No point. Point for the other side.
Right.
Phil would have probably put those hands away, I would guess.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that guy there?
Let's go get it in our DeLorean. So we can change that.
I feel like one of the biggest challenges, and I wouldn't know, but because we see players across all sports get into coaching when they're finished, or managing, or being a GM in the NBA, we see that a lot. But it doesn't always translate to success. With you, we've seen you coach, and LMU's built on its success every year. How do you go from being a player where a lot of things like become automatic or subconscious that you do? How do you translate that to being a good coach? Because I feel like that's a challenge. Being able, because now try like a lot of your emotions, like you're so automatic, you're like, I don't really know how to explain what I do. I feel like that's a tough skill to learn in itself, just learning how to translate your skills to helping someone else learn how to do that skill too.
It's definitely hardest for the best players, for the people that things can't come easy to. I was never that player. Some things came easy, but a lot of things didn't come easy, so I think I had to figure them out. So I think that helped, but I'm sure there's a lot of things where I'm not able to feel what it's like to be in one of my athletes' shoes, or what it feels like for them to move, and I don't have the understanding well enough, so I probably miss out and need to study it more and get a better understanding. I was telling you guys before we started that Gold Medal Squared Indoor is a big training, indoor training company, and we're doing it on the beach, Gold Medal Squared Beach, and I've learned a lot from them. They break down the skills into keys, so there's for passing, they have 5 different keys. When they've studied good passers, the way they move, what they do with their platform, what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. So just having keys for each skill, passing, setting, serving, has just helped made it simpler. So now I know if a girl doesn't move their feet in the way, we say, I think it's good to shuffle when you move, then I can give them feedback on that. So just having that framework from basically taking each skill, having keys, teaching those keys to the girls, and then just trying to get really good at those keys. And that's what I've tried to do. And I think a lot of times, good coaches, they get their players to do the fundamentals, the basics really well. It's really exciting to get into the strategy and the highlight plays. But I think to create a good team and a team has sustainable success, you've got to have a good foundation, and that starts with good fundamentals. So that's just what we start with, and try to build those fundamentals so we can do those highlight plays if the fundamentals are good more often.
Yeah. I feel like there's various levels that you're coaching now too. You have, the club girls, and then you have LMU, and then now we have Billy and Stafford too. Have you started working with them yet, or is that they taking a little bit of a break?
I got out just one practice with Billy, trying to teach him how to serve. That's going to be his biggest upgrade. I hope that I can help him with.
Damn it.
Yeah. So I got out with him, and it was awesome. He was easy to work with, and he was excited, eager to learn for sure. I haven't got out with Stafford yet. I think we're going to get out next week and start working with him. I've just started watching film on him and trying to get a little bit of a beat of what I think they can work on, and where I can just help them a little bit. And they had a really good year in 2017.
Yeah.
And I was a little surprised that they didn't keep playing. So I'm glad that they're back together. I think we were talking about the values and being aligned at the beginning of the podcast. And I think, we had a conversation. They're really on the same page in terms of work ethic and the way they want to support their partners. And they just seem, I think they were aligned in 2017, and they still have those things, and they found with different partners that maybe weren't as aligned. So I think they're excited to be back, and I'll hopefully just give them a couple little things to work on and get them to be better, and they'll have a bunch of battles with Try.
Yeah.
Was it weird at all coaching? I feel like, obviously you guys have been good friends for a really long time, but is it weird now beginning to impart your knowledge on guys that, you've been playing against for years?
Yeah, it wasn't that weird. Maybe it will be when there's a full team there.
Right.
But just with Billy, I thought it might be a little bit, but it was just coaching. It was like, he's doing that a little funky. Do this.
Yeah.
I'd bring out my camera, film him. Look what you did. Do this. It's just try to give him clear, specific feedback. And it's nice, when someone's so invested and wants to get better, like someone like Billy or anybody at the highest levels, then it's easy to work with them. If that's gonna help me, I'll go do it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it. It's gonna be fun to do. Just got to make sure I carve away the time to get out there with them enough.
Are you, or what are their plans and your plans in terms of international and domestic travel?
I think they're still trying to figure it out. I think they want to do the first one, the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're maybe like the 5th or 6th team, so they'll sign up.
Top few teams aren't going to go.
Yeah, so
I don't know what we're doing yet.
Yeah, I think once they kind of see the draws, they'll decide.
Right.
But I think they're definitely going to do that in Florida, and then kind of map out the rest of the summer.
There's a lot of options.
Isn't there? I think Tyler was telling us there. We met with Tyler. It was like 13 or 14 4-stars in a row,
Yeah,
or something like that. 4 or 5
something
stars.
crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah. No, you can stay overseas if you want to this off season, or sorry, this season, this next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing what everyone else is doing. You know, you figure out your goals. Obviously, a lot of the teams are going to be prioritizing Olympics, like we always do in the Olympic qualification period. But you also want to be home and play in AVPs because it's like, you know, you can relax a little bit and like have some fun, whereas like F5B is like when you're playing for Olympic bid, it's like very tense.
Yeah, I think they'll balance it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're more on the same page where they both just want to go for it. Like they want to play a bunch of tournaments.
Yeah,
and I think they're excited. Yeah, kind of whatever opportunities come up, they'll go for it.
Cool.
I'd like to push them. I think Billy sometimes could use a little nudge, keep pushing them to go for it.
Right.
Because I don't think he realizes sometimes how good he is. Like
don't tell him.
Yeah. I think he's starting to finally, but he's been that good for that long.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
He's been lights out.
Yeah.
A lot of people are intimidated by his game, but it doesn't seem like he's.
He doesn't know it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully give him that nudge to really go for it and give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it should be fun to see how they do.
It's interesting too. All three of you guys are dads with kids or multiple kids.
Yeah.
What, Stafford's got 2 and
he's got
you and
2.
Billy got 1?
We got 1, yeah.
How's that dad
crew.
dynamic?
Just gotta have good wives.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Are they all gonna hang out when you're gone? Just corral the kids.
The Real Housewives of Beach Volleyball.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure my wife would be stoked about that.
I hear that I heard it, people talking about it at USA Volleyball the other day too. Sounds like Billy wrote a book.
Yes, it just came in the mail for me. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Good Blood,
and it's not about volleyball.
I think there might be a reference in there if you're really looking for it. No, it's like a fantasy book. I haven't read it yet.
Wow.
But it's you know more.
I'm 10 pages in.
Ooh.
It's sci-fi. It's funny. I was talking to Brunsting about it at the AVP banquet, and he was like, I just don't know if I can sit here and read like about another world that my friend made up. It's like, I don't know if I have that. But I was reading it and I was like, God, Billy, you have like a heck of an imagination. Like it's really good so far.
I do not read books like that, but I just want to know what it is.
Yeah, curiosity definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like just wanted to support Billy for one, and then two, like curiosity would like get the better of me for sure.
I think it shows.
I'm definitely gonna read it.
It shows a lot of the growth that Billy's made. I think he's been writing that book or a book for like 15 years. Wow. That he'll get about halfway done and then just this sucks and put it away. And but he committed to this one and stayed with it and finished it and got a professional editor. And I mean, if you guys have seen the cover's legit. Yeah, the
cover's awesome.
Like it's a real deal. And I mean, you really got to put yourself out there to do that. And he had to make an investment, and he's a cheap guy. So for him to like pay for all that and put it out there, it's really cool to see. And maybe this one, you know, he breaks even, and then I think he's already working on another one. And just to see him to make those steps to like start to like believe in himself and to go for it, it's been really, really cool to see because he's super talented.
Sounds like both on the court and off the court.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's come at the same time.
Right.
Like he bump set for his first 10 years. And I'd watch him like in warm-ups handset, and he's got like way better hands than most people.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing. Like I'm sure his writing has been good for a long time, but now he's just getting more disciplined with it, believing in himself more. And I mean, he's been doing creative things like the kind of good stuff.
Right.
You know, it's all like his writing. It's hilarious, and he's done that sort of stuff for a long time. He's just now getting behind it and really doing it right. Yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to keep him out of the winner's circle this next season, for sure. Him and Stafford they already won one, right?
Yeah.
They won Seattle.
Yeah. They made a couple finals, too.
They made 3 finals in a row. They won Seattle and San Francisco. Stafford had that Like,
Oh, yeah,
kinda
the injury.
not
they-
torn.
That was
tweaked
crazy.
oblique.
They won that semi.
should have won that
Yeah.
by a mile.
Do you remember the semi where they were
14-9.
they played Reed? And,
Oh, yeah, Reed.
The freeze.
And Billy
Yeah.
was blocking,
Yep.
like diving ankle,
Uh-huh.
blocking balls, and that was unbelievable. I
That's
think you were
right.
calling that.
I
right?
was,
That
yeah.
was sight of the walk away.
Was that the walkaway dig?
The walk
Oh, yeah.
away dig.
I mean, that's another example of Billy just like creating that
oh, well.
video. Yeah, that video is amazing too.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
It was awesome.
What is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Like the
If anybody
The
hasn't
fireballs
seen
coming
that,
out of
you
it?
guys, yeah.
Google it or YouTube Billy Allen walkaway dig.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's so great. His total volleyball makeover has been fantastic to follow. I don't know. I mean, I know you're not an Instagram guy.
He sent me a couple pictures.
He's
Yeah.
so funny.
I saw Trevor made it into a couple.
In all of them, I think.
Okay. Yeah. He sent me a couple that I was just busting up at.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
He also, I want to say, was it early in the year they had him do something, and he went in some pictures with Avery, like. Did you see the ones of like Avery
modeling
like juggling?
pictures?
Yeah, it was like some of Avery's model pictures that Billy like photoshopped himself in. I think it was Dan Madden too. That are just unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you even think of that? And Avery, I think he gave him the blessing to do it. So they're pretty classic.
And you guys, any progress with the podcast? I know you guys have been doing it for a while. Are you
Still going. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have nice mics like these. Man, I'm just jealous. These are big time. Yeah, actually, Billy and I are writing a Coach Your Brains Out book.
nice?
Billy's inspired me, so I think we're about finished with our first draft. Hopefully this summer, put it out.
Nice.
We're still going. I know we talked to some motor learning professors recently that were really cool. The guy I was talking about recently, or just a little bit ago, was Joe Trinzi. We just had him on. We're gonna talk to Karch. Karch is coming up pretty soon. So
Who?
yeah, it's been fun. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It's funny if you ask, like, I ask my girls, "Do you guys know who Karch Karai is?" They're like, "Yeah, is he the coach?"
Yeah, the coach. Wow.
I know he won 3 gold medals and
That's
he's the best
funny.
player of all time.
It's funny when I
Michael
was in,
Jordan, the Hornets owner.
Yeah.
I was sitting in San Jose, just eating food with Randy Stoklos, and then a girl sat down and she just introduced herself. She's like, "Hey, I'm Randy." She was like, "Oh, what's your last name?" Stoklos. She's like, "Oh, okay," and clearly like just didn't know who he was, and he was just like, "Kids."
Yeah, Randy would take that the wrong
Randy's
way.
like-
Yeah, he's gonna let you know about it.
Why don't you get out of here?
Yeah.
Go Google me.
Karch might be okay with it. But
Yeah.
and Randy's gonna let you know.
It was really funny. But you've been here for a while. We don't want to keep you for too long, especially on a Sunday too. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, it's my free day.
Podcast number 2.
Yeah, I know. My
Bring
first
it back.
repeat guest, man.
Yeah. So now we have.
I'm so engaging.
We
that you had to have me back.
Yeah.
We didn't have our final question on the first time we had you on, but now we do. We have. If you had to give any piece of advice to an up-and-coming beach volleyball player, what would that piece of advice be?
That's a good question. The first thing that came to mind was read the book Growth Mindset. I know we talked about it last time, but I'd say invest in that and read it and get an understanding of what a growth and fixed mindset are, and look for the areas in your life and in your game where you're more fixed, which means you believe that your skills are what they are and they can't be improved, which everyone does. And if you can work on changing that mindset or the mind state to more of a growth, then you'll start to attack those and work on those weaknesses and do it. I think the other thing would be, I think we touched on it earlier, is try to find a partner that is aligned with your vision of a season. And I think some of that comes from the sort of tournaments you want to play. Like, we're going to commit to all AVPs or all the P1440s or whatever it is. Like, this is what, I want to play as many tournaments as possible. Or I'm just in this to try to make enough money to be able to pay my rent. So I'm going to play some. So just get aligned, I think, in that way. And then figure out if you have some alignment as well in your values in terms of your work ethic and the sort of teammate you want to be. And once you find those, then like commit to it. Like, let's do this for a full year and let's stick together and let's see if we can get a little bit better each day as a team. And like we talked about before, just see if you can create a team that's better than the sum of your parts. And that's the good stuff. So you're going to have some tournaments that don't go as well, and maybe there might be a quick fix that you could give up on. But I'd say if you feel like you have someone who's invested and has the same values as you, stick it out, and see if you can build a really good team.
I think we're gonna have to do a John Mayer giveaway.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We got some Wilson balls
Let's do it.
that we're gonna have you sign a Wilson ball. So what should we do for the giveaway?
The retirement edition.
The retirement edition giveaway.
Oh,
A wheelchair.
A wheelchair. A Wilson in a wheelchair.
What do you think? What do you think listeners should have to do to win a signed John Mayer volleyball?
My first thought, it's a sad thought, was there was a shooting in my hometown in Thousand Oaks, where I grew up. I was thinking some sort of donation to the, I don't know what it is, the Red Cross or some foundation out there.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
To help.
We can do that. So
yeah,
maybe
Thousand
we'll
Oaks has had a really rough week with the fires and just the terrible tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we can find a charity that they could give a couple bucks to.
Okay.
All right.
So we can. I'm gonna go with Red Cross for now.
Yeah.
Do Red Cross in Thousand Oaks. So I guess take a screenshot of the donation, and then send it to SANDCASTpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll pretty much just do kind of a raffle type system. We'll pluck it out from a hat. Winner gets a signed John Mayer ball.
I like it. Yeah, unless they know. I don't get political. They know some gun control rights. They can start to affect our politicians. They can make some change in legislation. I'd say they get a couple balls.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You can have a few.
Yeah, we'll make it even a bigger deal. But yeah, that'd be awesome.
So that'll be the next time we have you on.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be the next one. Yeah, so start planning for that. Listeners.
Maybe
how you're gonna make a change.
Maybe when your guys' book comes out, we'll
there you
have
go.
you on and
Yeah,
Yeah,
talk about that one.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I now know 3 people that have books that came out. 'Cause Travis just wrote one as well.
Yeah,
we'll
so that
have a
one-
whole podcast for that.
Yeah, so mine actually the first time I
That's
sort of
right.
met you.
That's right,
So
on
that
the
one's
phone.
coming out, and I have the proof in my book
Oh, you
bag
do? I
over
gotta see
there.
it.
That one's it's coming out December 5th.
Oh, cool.
So
Congrats.
that was a long time.
You got me
in
on the cover?
making. You are not on the cover. But we do have a
Ah.
lefty. I had to make sure the lefty is on the
Nice.
cover. So Eddie the Eagle
Oh, cool.
is on there.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It was
Cool.
a fun one to work
Congrats.
on. So I had to give Billy his month and a half in
Yeah,
the spotlight,
You don't
and
wanna
then
steal it.
so hopefully you guys can publish your book somewhat soon, so we can just keep the streak rolling.
Yeah.
Beach players
Volleyball
coming
player
out with books.
authors. Yeah. It's a good day for self-publishing.
It is.
great stuff.
It's not a sci-fi though.
Not a sci-fi. I do not have the imagination of Billy Allen.
A
so
sci-fi
it's a lot.
volleyball book. That would be.
Yeah.
I don't know about good, but it'd be unique.
It'd be unique if you
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks
and,
for having me. This
It's
was
been a ton of fun watching you throughout. What little sample size I had to watch you throughout your career. Definitely one of the most respected players in the game, as far as I can tell. And just wanted to acknowledge you for that and the way you carry yourself on the court.